You cannot acknowledge synchronicity if you don't cultivate your spiritual side. Does that make sense? I don't think I'd be able to recognize and give it the merit it has if I wasn't connected to that side of me. I left Cuba when I was 12 years old, and every important part of my life, everything that has happened that has been crucial in my life, there's an underneath current of events that made it happen. And it's funny because I was thinking about the things I wanted to talk about tonight, and it's exactly that. Every crucial thing that I think back to, if I wouldn't have met this person back then, if my parents wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And that has happened professionally and personally. I was 24 years old, and I was graduating from Miami, University of Miami School of Arts, and I went to a store, to the closest store, to buy my first home studio equipment. And the next weekend after that, I was having my first gig with a huge band locally that used to do corporate events, bar mitzvahs, and that kind of stuff. I did my sound check, just like I did here today. And when I finished sound check, I went and I told the sound engineer, everything sounds great. He said, do you need anything else? I said, no, everything sounds perfect. My name is, he said, I know you already. And I said, where did we meet? Because I'm very good with faces. I'm horrible with names, but I'm good with faces. And he said, I saw you at a store 2 days ago, and you were buying equipment. And I was very intrigued by you because you never see a woman buying music equipment. It's very weird. And, then I fell back, and yes, this person I was looking to, it was some guy that was standing there. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story, but that night we talked for hours about any subject you can imagine. And there was a magnet so strong happening. It had nothing to do with physical attraction. It had nothing, but there was something so strong happening there. That person became my husband, and my best friend up till today, in spite of a divorce. Like that, I could tell you on and on. I mean, I'm a risk taker. I can go back to the story of meeting my ex-husband, actually. Because of how we met, I started a huge project of a production company. And I was very young back then, very young, and so was he, but I was younger. And I remember he had just gotten into this country, and I made a very serious investment in a production company. For me, it was very serious because I was in my early 20s, and for me, $1,000 was a lot of money. So I invested a lot of time and effort into starting this production company, just letting myself be guided by that energy that we had. I trusted that, and we had amazing success. The only reason why we stopped working in that company is because I was hired to be background vocalist for Gloria Estefan, which has made a tremendous impact in my life professionally and personally. But that's the reason why I left it, because I couldn't really balance out. This is what I studied, this is what I love doing. I love producing, I love production company, I love what we've accomplished. But I need that fulfillment spiritually of what I just adore to do. But that was a huge risk for me to do that. I had no guarantees, zero. I've had moments where I'm thinking about my grandfather, for example, and then something happens, or I get a phone call from my mother saying, we're having this conversation, yeah, you remember how your grandfather used to do that? And I was just thinking about my grandfather earlier, and so yeah, it's usually, but I have to say, something you said previously, you usually have something happening and then you think back, oh my God, this is connecting. I think funny enough, when you're very connected to things like this, you start to recognize them when the whole cycle starts. Does that make sense? From the beginning. And the more in tune you're with it, the more things that are there for you to recognize. from having a baby to being a recording artist as a soloist, to getting a lot more strongly and seriously into my own recording as an artist in my own house, because there's a whole series of events that have been happening in my house around that scenario of having a studio in my house and doing all these things. Many things. I could think of many things that are happening right now that maybe a couple of years from now I would go, wow, if I wouldn't have done this, if the things wouldn't have aligned in this way, I wouldn't be doing this at all. It's, for me, synchronicity is so much a part of my life.